Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Debora Gemmell on the line, and she is an integrative nutrition health coach and owner over at Thrive Wellness Solutions. Debora, welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam. How are you?
Oh, man, I am doing wonderful, and I love our topic today of health and the education behind it and what you're doing over at Thrive Wellness Solutions. And I'm excited because I probably need some more of that because that's been, I don't know if I ever caught up from the holiday eating and everything else I was doing to my body. I'm probably still doing it, telling on myself here, feeling guilty with you. But that being said, before we do that, let's get a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career in business?
So it was actually about 9 years ago. I myself was a smoker of 30 years. I was 40 pounds overweight. I didn't ever try to diet because I knew I had no willpower, so I just never bothered. I ate carbs at every meal. I had to eat every couple of hours. Otherwise, we would jokingly blood sugar, not realizing that's actually what was happening. And then I started to get sick. And I started to get bronchitis. I started to get hives. I had my face swell up. And it was almost like I had lived a certain way for a long time, and my body was now saying that we just can't do this anymore, and if you're not going to pay attention, then I'm going to make it really obvious to you. Wow. And the game changer for me was that I ended up getting this oozing red, like literally fire engine red welts on the end of my nose the size of a quarter. Wow. And it was kind of funny because you couldn't ignore it. It was purely from things I was eating, and that obviously made me start paying attention. Wow. So I spent the next 4.5 years trying to figure out what was going on with me. And like I said, because I've lived that way for so long, my breakfast was, a double Tim, a muffin, and a couple of smokes. And so to go from that to trying to figure out what healthy was, I had no idea. And so I know that there's a lot of people out there like me. And so I figured out, it took me, like I said, 4.5 years. I initially went to my doctor about it, and her response to me was, well, if it bothers you, don't eat it. And I said, but the problem is I don't know what it is. And I'm happy to say that she's now on board with me. She's got my cards in her office. But I just really wanted to start doing something to help other people so that they didn't have to go through the 4.5 years I went through of painful trying to figure stuff out with a lot of mess ups along the way. And that's really kind of what inspired me to start doing this.
I think that's a great transition. Let's get further into what this is. Tell us a little bit more about Thrive Wellness Solutions. So
I was looking, like I said, I'd never done anything like this at all. And so I came across a school called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which is a gentleman originally from Toronto, but he moved to the U.S. and 30 years ago, he started recognizing the serious need for health education. And one of the reasons that I chose to go with that school was the fact that he goes beyond food and physical activity. And so integrative nutrition is about recognizing that food is actually the symptom. It is not the problem. And that in order for us to get well, as for myself, that we need to dig behind the why of what's going on. So if we're emotionally eating, if we're at the fridge at 10:30 at night, if, we're going through a divorce and totally stressed out and making bad food choices, whatever is going on in our life, most of the time our food choices are a reaction to that. And so his story to us was that he was trying to help a client initially lose weight, was how he was originally doing. He was originally a nutritionist, and it just wasn't working. And so she showed up at one of the sessions with a black eye, and he realized that she was actually in an abusive marriage, and that was what was going on, and it wasn't the food at all. The food was how she was trying to cope with what was going on, and that's really how integrative started. was recognizing that, it's all the other areas in our life. So it's the quality of our relationships in our life, the quality of our work environment. We've all been in toxic work environments, myself included, and the toll that takes on our health. And then spirituality, and not religion so much, but more about, besides going to work and going to the gym, what do you do that makes you happy? My thing is I volunteer and coach for Special Olympics athletes. And I always say that hour of the week is the best hour of the week, because no matter what else is happening in my life, I go there and I always leave feeling amazing.
I want to go a little bit further into into some of the concepts that you're integrating, educating people on. Because, there's some people listening right now, they're sitting in their office or they're in their car and they're like, they know they need to do some things and they know they need some, a little bit of that education piece. What are some simple things that people can do now to start making some of the right choices? Like, what are those first steps? Because I find in my personal life, I'll just say it's always that first step that's the hardest. It's not when you built the habit, when you're further down the line, when you're seeing results. It's that first step. So what are some good first steps for people?
That's a good question. I think, one of the things about integrative nutrition is bioindividuality, which means every one of us is different. So I do not believe in the cookie cutter diets. I believe in people figuring out what works best for them. And the other important part in this is, to answer your question, is that any changes we make can just be small changes. We're so ingrained in instant gratification, everything's fast and now, that we want to go from 0 to 60. Whereas when actual fact, it's doing the small baby steps along the way. So if, for me, I used to put 3 sugars in my coffee. So even if today you just cut your sugar coffee down by 1 teaspoon is a start. And by doing those little small things is actually how we make sustainable change. And so when I work with my clients, it's a process. It's over a 4-month period. And it's, like I said, finding what works for them and what their issues are, and then implementing very tiny changes. I had one client that drinks, admittedly, 2 liters of Diet Coke every day. And so the strategy is also for people that instead of trying to stop doing something, to bring in something good. So, if you're drinking that much pop, I'm not asking her immediately to stop drinking a pop. I'm asking her to add 1 or 2 glasses of water to her day. And so it's actually flipped thinking. It's exactly the opposite of what we would instinctively think we need to do. And then by doing what we call crowding out, it sort of actually starts to naturally push out the things that aren't good for us. We bring in the things that are good for us. So really my recommendation would be pick something small. If you drink juice, which you might as well drink Coca-Cola, then can you cut it down to a half a glass? So just look at what you do in your day and what is a small step. Can you take the stairs at work instead of taking the elevator? Just look for tiny little things that you can start to do today.
So I don't want to oversimplify this, and obviously we're not going to have time to get too in-depth on the podcast, but I like that first point you made about you don't think diets are cookie cutter and that they have to be, what you're consuming really has to be tailored and to how your body really reacts to the food is what it comes down to, because everybody's body reacts differently to even the same things that they eat. So that being said, what are some thought processes around people starting to figure out and or learn about what foods agrees with their body?
Primarily, for me, I started to know something was wrong. I started to get heartburn, and I didn't know why, and I'd never had heartburn before. And I, spent months walking around with Tums in my pocket all the time. But, if we actually slow down and start paying attention, I had hives on my back. I never knew that the hives on my back were signs of all the food I was eating that didn't agree with my body. Inflammation in your body is another sign that we're eating something that we shouldn't be eating. So probably the best way, sugar isn't great for anybody, so that's always a good place to start. And if people, as much as I like people to try to not cut things out, Looking at the two primary areas where a lot of people have issues is with dairy and gluten, wheat. And so those are two areas that somebody can take a look at. And typically if you go to any naturopath or nutritionist and you're having any sort of dietary issues, that's usually some of the places that they'll start.
So, Debora, I can talk to you all day about this. As we're talking on here, I have like 50 more questions, but we're about out of time. Let's see. So if somebody's listening to this and they want to follow up and they want to learn more about Thrive Wellness Solutions and to connect, what's the best route for them to do that?
So what I do is, again, because it is bio-individual and I want to make sure that, we're a good fit to work together, I do offer people a 60-minute complimentary call to kind of go through and help them identify what's going on. And if I'm a good fit for them, I will. And if I'm not, then I'll direct them to where I think they could get the best help. And they can reach out to me via email at contact@thrivews.ca, or they can go to my site, which is thrivews.ca, and connect through there.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Debora, really appreciate you coming on the show today, sharing more about your background and all the great work you're doing over at Thrive Wellness Solutions to help your clients. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, share this with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. I really do appreciate it. And Debora, thanks again for coming on the show.
It was great to be here, Adam. Thank you.